appreciate you coming and doing this with me. It means a lot. And this is really, before we dive in, it's just like an honest conversation.
Mm,
Essentially what I've been finding is when people try to compare themselves to people who've really kind of gone through it and maybe they've come out and really gotten the gains, there's voices that are like, I can't do that. That won't be me. And so I really like to give the feedback of people who are like 1 month in, just joined, 3 months in, 4 months
yeah,
in, six
that's
months
right.
in, to give a
Mm,
little bit more of that feedback of just, basically some of those questions I was getting you to think about before.
mm.
So yeah, how does that feel to just kind of weave on in?
Yeah, feels all right. It feels all right. We'll see how we
Yeah,
go.
I love it. I love it. So I'm really excited that we're getting this time to chat right now. So remind me, and I'm thinking about it, you found me on Instagram. How did you find me?
Yes. It was really random. I sometimes wonder what I was doing. You know how there's a spot where in Instagram where you just kind of click into and there's all these different
Yeah.
reels that I would have probably not followed. And it was actually the colors, the blue and the white for some reason. And then it did say self-esteem. And I thought to myself, no, I don't think I need it. But then I clicked in. And then I just started to, listen to that post, and that was enough. Then I started to look at all your others, just quite curious because I liked what you were saying
Yeah.
in terms of the parts work stuff that I was looking for and the nervous system
Yeah.
aspect of everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you joined. And I remember
Yeah.
like you had some questions before you joined.
Yes.
So
Yes.
tell me a little bit about that process because I remember that process. We were chatting around it, right? But I think what do you think was your like hesitancy when you were thinking of joining? Because so many, I know for myself, when I was thinking of doing things that, the inner critic can take over, the anxiety can take over.
I think it was more an internal
Yeah.
thing for myself. I would ask the questions and then almost doubt myself about firstly asking the question. I felt a bit weird about asking, but
Yeah.
then I needed to know. And then at the same time, I was like, nah, probably not, still not right.
Yeah.
It was just a strange battle in my head.
Oh, it makes sense.
um, and then I had to kind of look between yourself, your program, and another program, and then try to do it from the analytical point of view because that's what I'm used to. And that helped me a little bit, but the voices were still like, I just don't know. Is this right? Will it do anything? Should we even try? And that's where, I would go more for the questions that were a little bit targeted to what I was trying to figure out for myself.
Yeah. I love it. I absolutely love it. You asked great questions, by the way. I loved your questions. I love when people ask me questions. It's my favorite, my favorite. Uh, yeah, I'll say that loud and clear. I love it. I love it because I think you're choosing, you need to feel me out a little bit too. Like I think it's really important to get to ask me the questions you need to ask me to feel out if this is going to be the right fit. And I loved that you asked questions. It was good. What made you decide to join? What was it? Do you remember if there was something that we were like, okay, I think I'll do it?
Honestly, it was my internal chatter of like, I have this curiosity to do this
Yeah.
work. I couldn't quite find the practitioners that I wanted here in person because they didn't do the blend of what I was looking for. I felt that the blend of everything that we do in this program is important rather than I'm just going to see this practitioner for this kind of modality only.
Yeah.
I'm going to see this practitioner because it's expensive. So I was doing a cost analysis in my head.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Um, and because of that, I thought, look, the parts work is something that I'm interested in. There's a community aspect to it. If I wanted to, but being ultra independent, I was like, I can just do the self-led one. I don't need anyone. So let's just try that. Let's just go in at entry level. Let's give it a go, see how we feel about it. So I had to talk myself into testing it out.
Yeah. And I love that as you joined, then you quickly upgraded to join the
Yeah, I
group
was like,
calls, and I love it. I love it. You join, but that's how we entryway. And then it was like, hey,
right.
the group coach, that group coaching component, that sounds really, really great. What kind of things had you done in the past? Well, I remember some of our conversations, but I'm going to ask you just for anybody who's listening to this,
Sure.
like what were some of the healing
Um,
things that you had tried and done in the past and some of your own kind of knowledge base coming into this?
I started with therapy,
Yeah.
quite a few different therapists, and through those modalities, through therapy, I learned a lot about different modalities. So, but none of them parts work. I could sense internally, there are different parts because there's different voices or types of voices in my head, but there was no one really spoke about that in some of the sessions. Then I listened to a podcast of mine that I love, Mark Groves, and he was talking about semantic, I guess, exercises or
Yeah.
semantic therapy. And I was curious about that. So I actually tried one in person here where I live, and I liked her. I did like her. It got a bit expensive, and I was doing normal therapy and semantic therapy.
It's pretty
And
expensive.
I just couldn't, keep that up. But also in my head, I thought, what am I doing? I don't even get to talk. Like, so I did quite a few different things. I learned the inner child stuff from a holistic psychologist
Yeah.
online and did a bit of her course, but I didn't complete it all. I
Yeah.
found that, there's a lot of material. Um, And I like to live in my head a lot, I guess, in the analytical aspect. So therapy and the
Yeah.
talking got me to a point until it didn't. And I thought, oh, look, I just don't know if there's much more movement and where else
Yeah.
or what else could I try and do.
Yeah. Traditional talk, I mean, I started out in traditional talk therapy. 20 years ago, that was mainstream, right? It was CBT, psychodynamic, right? It was the more, let's, dissect this or let's just work with the thoughts. And now we understand that the thoughts are really the last step of the process. You're having thoughts because there are parts talking. You're having parts because you're in survival mode. You're in survival mode because there's
Mm-hmm.
been some sort of trigger or consistent triggers, and there's consistent triggers because of your subconscious wiring, and there's subconscious wiring because of your unhealed wounds. I love the talk and the understanding. Like it's such an important piece and having a voice, but everybody will get to a place. I did myself in my own journey where I was like, there's nowhere else to go from here. And my body wasn't changing. The subconscious
Mm-hmm.
patterns weren't shifting and the triggers weren't changing. I just understood some of them better. But you're right, parts work changes the game in a lot of ways. It just really helps us to understand these different parts in a way that helps to befriend yourself. And I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
How have you found the course material? I know you were talking about holistic psychologist and doing some of that course. How have you found the course material with the Befriending Your Parts framework?
When I looked at the modules at the beginning, I was like, there's not very many modules.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, I just can power through it. um, to be honest.
Yeah.
But then, as I took your advice to take it slow, I could complete the videos at the beginning quite easily.
Yeah.
And I like the PowerPoints or,
The
the
slides.
written
Yeah.
content, yes, the slides as well, because there's not too much information. There's just enough. You touch on the background just enough to help me understand a little bit more, piques my curiosity, and then you go into the next phase of what we need to do in terms of how the actionable steps, or we have an exercise to do. So it doesn't kind of keep me in my headspace for too long, because then there's something that I need to do with that, a journaling prompt or what have you. So I found it very digestible. It's a point in time where we all have a bit of resistance, and just
Yeah.
getting to the material, that's different. So
Yes.
so the point of me here and me going to the material, that's my own dilemma.
Yeah.
But once I get to the material, it's okay. It's not too confronting, I feel, for me anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And how have you found, and this is so common, right? We all have points where and I think that's the beautiful pace of being able to pace it out too, because the thing we don't want to do is push through, right? Your system is very good at trying to push through. Most of us are really good at trying to push through. And it's about learning the safety. And that's why it's okay that there's going to be weeks where no course material gets done. And the group, that's where the group kind of came in about a year ago now, where the group
Mm,
came in to try to maintain some kind of accountability and also support, where you could feel like if you had a question, you could ask it. You're continuously learning. And
mhm,
interestingly enough, I had two students who used to just come to the group, and one of them was so busy that all she could do was come to the group, and she was finding so much healing just from coming and listening and hearing and learning through the group and doing the practices, that to this day, she's now going back and doing the coursework. But she said, I gained so much that I started to feel a lot of joy in my life just from attending the group I think she attended probably for about 6 months,
mhm.
which was really interesting. How do you find that the group component kind of adds to the course material?
It's a great addition to it. And like you said, even if I don't have time or am taking a pause from the course material, attending the group is like a little bit of a bite size. Hey, I'm doing this work that's part of the course material that I may not have even covered yet, or it's a really good refresher. And it's just that little reminder for
Yeah.
myself to
Yeah.
say, oh, okay, yes, remember the video that Chantal talked about XYZ, and then you feel that support in the group as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I was very surprised when I did join that it was very helpful for me.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm so happy you joined. You've been an asset to that group. I love it. And I think, the group, I think it's a big piece because I think the pieces that are covered in that group too, uh, the practice piece, the element, because I see you and I love that because I get to gauge based on,
Mm,
where I'm seeing, because you always put have your camera on most of the time for practices. And then there's a place after where we can like regroup and kind of anybody who's having a challenging time could be like, that was hard for me, or that was really
mm,
great for me. And I think that that's a really important piece of it as well. So
mm.
I'm happy that that piece feels good, because this is a process, it's a process of learning. Do you feel like you made the right choice in joining?
Yes, I did. I did definitely make the right choice.
Yeah.
Once I, said yes, did the process to pay, got over my anxiety, and then you sent through everything.
You're not alone in
I
that,
was
that's
like,
for sure.
I feel really good about this. It
Yeah.
felt really right for me.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. It's felt so right to have you in the community. So it's been
Thank
so, so, so lovely. What have you found has been helpful? Like, what have you noticed at this point in your journey, given that you're still at the earlier stages of your journey right now, right? Like,
you.
what have you noticed in terms of any gains for yourself?
I noticed in terms of a gain is how much I lived in my head
Yeah.
and how much it was easier to not connect to the body, even though there is a part, and why I'm doing this is because on some level I want to connect with the body and I just wasn't sure how to. And the tracking, learning to track my nervous system and learning to attune. I'm still in the process, I'm still learning, but I can see how that's beneficial
Yeah.
just to know that those parts of myself.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. It's huge. It's huge. When you're kind of thinking of, you know, learning to become your own friend, learning to kind of work with the inner critics, the anxious parts. Does that feel, as you're kind of going through the material slowly, does that feel possible for you with the combination of the nervous system work, the parts work, and the compassion work?
For sure. Yes. I'm confident that I have the tools. Now I just have to utilize them.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And that's the whole thing. Like, that's the place that you're at right now, too, right? You're kind of at this place right now where you have met this point. Like, you just started the parts work, right? You
Mm-hmm.
just started the parts work. So you finished the nervous system. You were like,
Yes.
okay, I'm learning to connect. Now I'm kind of meeting some of these different parts. And everybody has a moment where they're like, and my system doesn't want to do, and there's
Yeah,
no,
we're like, and no, thank you.
yeah, no, you. And I just turned back in my road. Jay Gurdjieff says this really clearly, and he says that there's a point in your journey where you kind of get on your path, and it's like the last point to be able to turn back and go back to what he would call being asleep to your reality, just going back to just going in the patterns and just, going with the motion in protective mode, survival mode, just asleep to
Okay.
the reality. And then there's this moment where you then pass it and then you're just awake. And what comes with becoming more awake can also come having that awareness. And so you're learning to feel things and you're learning to understand yourself and address things. And that can feel at first, it's a learning curve and it's also an emotional curve, right? So
Mhm.
it's kind of like learning how to do what once felt so unsafe to your system and trying to teach your system that this is actually safe now. And so it's a
Mhm.
learning curve to unlearn that, and I'm so happy that you're here on this journey with me and that you're grateful that you joined because I'm so grateful you did. And I'm so grateful that you've taken this time with me here today to chat about it. My last question for you,
Mhm.
would you recommend this to someone you love?
Absolutely. On the low key, I try to send it to people that I think
Yeah.
need it, but everyone's got their own time. I'm
Well,
trying
I
not to
I
force people.
I love that. The reason I asked that question is I feel like it's an honest gauge because I like just honest. And as I said
Mhm.
before even starting this, like just give your honest answers. It's not about trying to help me sell
Mm.
something or I really just want an honest conversation. I love that you're doing that. It's wonderful. And I think the whole piece when I asked that question, because we can say, oh yeah, I love this, but we might not recommend it to someone we love though. Like if unless we
Mm.
really truly believe it could help. Because if we want to give it to someone we love, we would know that it can help them and that it would help them. And so I find that was
Mhm.
I always like to ask that at the end now because I feel like we'll only recommend things to the people we love that we have pretty high conviction works and will help them. So
Yeah,
I've started asking that question, and I think, yeah, I your response is meaningful. So thank you very much for that.
you're welcome.
Yeah, and I'm here for you the whole rest of this journey. I'm loving it. And
Yeah,
I'm
I
so
love that.
thankful that you took this time with me today. Thank you so much.